What's up, everybody? This is a video that I'm very happy to be able to be sharing with you guys today. This is another installment into my collaboration conversation series, and it's probably the best one I've had yet. Today I had the honor and privilege of being able to talk with the spiritual seeker and self-help coach, Moments with Z. He's such an amazing being. This was literally the first time we had ever talked in the moment, in the same space together, and it was just such an amazing time. He has such a clear mind, such an open heart, and I can just feel how tuned in he is to spiritual energies. It was such a nice time, and I'm very happy and excited to be able to share this conversation with you guys. Now, I found Moments with Z just scrolling through my YouTube channel, and that seems to be the case with a lot of interesting people that we come across in our life, is just stumbling upon them suddenly. And he was in my feed, and the video in particular, which I will link in the description below, was him talking about his ayahuasca ceremony. And it was just such a moving video to watch. I recommend you watch it. It resonated with me very deeply, and I just thought, I need to reach out to this guy. He seems really cool. He seems really down to earth, and I want to see if he's interested in talking with me. And I hit him up, and sure enough, he was more than willing to join me on my podcast series that I have here. And throughout this conversation, we kind of just, break the ice and open up together and hang out, shoot the shit a little bit, and then we get more into the meat and potatoes, as I called it, of the conversation. And he dives deeply into kind of just who he is, how he was introduced to the spiritual path. He goes more in depth on the ayahuasca ceremony that he had down in Peru, which was just such a profound and humorous story to have told to me. He's the first person I've ever talked with in the moment that's been down to Peru, and he actually went to the Arcana Retreat Center, and this is the first time I've ever talked with somebody who's been down there and worked with the spirit of Mother Ayahuasca, and you can just feel that shit, bro. You can just feel it. It was such a beautiful story, and I could tell that he was open to some very profound and incredible things throughout that experience, and it was a very deep and intimate experience that he had. And he talks a lot about that. He also goes into depth on how he's still integrating that whole experience. He shared things in this conversation that he said he didn't share in his ayahuasca video. So thank you, Z, for sharing that. He also talks about his daily spiritual practice and the kind of things he does to center and ground himself. So again, this was such a beautiful video. Z, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to release this video, and I look forward to hearing again from you in the future. And to all you watching, I feel like you guys will really enjoy this video. So thank you so much for watching. Definitely subscribe to Moments with Z. I will leave his link in the description of my video. And yeah, this was a really cool video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Moments with Z. Thank you so much for joining me, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. I just feel like before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of the meeting, I want to share not only with you, but with the listeners, why exactly you're on this podcast with me right now. The other day, I think it was, when did I message you? Like 2 days ago?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 days ago or so. I was at work and I was scrolling through YouTube looking for a video to put on. And I saw your video. I think it was, I have it pulled up here. It was your video titled Ayahuasca Storytime, Most Terrifying Transformative Experience of My Life. And I just saw it and I was like, that sounds good. I'm gonna put this on. And
I just started listening to it, and as I continued listening, I started really feeling your vibe and really feeling the depth of where that story was coming from. And it really started to hit me, particularly not only what you went through, but the visceral emotions that started to come forth in you in that video. And yeah, not only the content of the experience, but the way you were expressing it, I was like, not only do I like this video a lot and does this seem legit and genuine, but I wanted to reach out to you, and I thought it would be really cool to invite you onto my channel. And not only that, but just to get to meet each other, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what brought me to reach out to you. And I just want to say thank you again for reaching back out and joining me on the talk together.
Oh man, of course. The pleasure is all mine, dude. When you reached out to collab, I checked out your channel and I just love the work that you're doing. Your path is something that I can personally very much relate to. And I just love connecting with people in the same space, you know? So
Yeah,
I'm so happy to hear that that video resonated so deeply with you. It actually blows my mind how much people resonates with that video. People say like it's very honest, it's very raw,
yeah, man.
and that's exactly how I like to, keep it in that video. Until this day, that is still easily one of the most popular videos I've put out there. I'm so glad that people got to experience it, and it's gotten me it's given me the opportunity to connect with really cool people like yourself. So I'm really happy
Hmm.
to be here, man. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. That was beautiful. And yeah, just taking like a general look, it looks like you kind of just came out of nowhere. Like you don't have a whole, I mean, your Instagram seems to be a little bit more active than your YouTube. And I don't know how long you've been around and doing this. I think I read somewhere though that you've been involved with this self-development and self-healing for 1.5 years or so.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems to line up relatively with when you posted that ayahuasca story too, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yep.
Does that still hold the most terrifying transformative experience of your life?
Ooh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's hands down. There's not even a close second. Um, and any second or third place experiences has all still related to like this spiritual development journey.
Yep.
Um, let's say like after I came back, there was an adjustment period, and then there was still multiple dark nights of the soul that I had to experience where
Yep.
I just felt so confused, so torn. There's a lot of energy moving within me that I didn't know how to make sense of. Um, and that was pretty rough to navigate, but still it was nothing in comparison to that singular experience. And honestly, it has prepared me so well to navigate all the other challenges and hurdles that I have had to overcome since then.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful, man. So I want to get into that ayahuasca story in particular and kind of psychedelics in general. But I felt a good first opener would be to ask you like, who are you? Who are you, Z? How did you find yourself here in this moment right now talking with Northwood Shaman on Zoom?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like
yeah, yeah.
just give me a little background of like who you are, what you're about, how you got involved with spirituality and that kind of stuff.
Oh man. Well, first, thanks for asking that question.
Of course, man.
It's it's difficult for me to answer that question because at one point I was a student, and at another point, uh, software engineer, software developer for about like 5 years.
Wow.
And
How old
that
are you, if you don't mind me
I'm
asking?
yeah, no problem at all. I'm 28 and I'll be turning 29 in 7 days, July 26th.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So from like 22 to 27-ish, that's when I was a software engineer. Um, Very unhappy. I felt like I wasn't living my life's purpose. I felt like I was living someone else's dream because so many people would be so happy to be in the position that I was in. Um, but for some reason, I just didn't feel right. And that developed into like a deep depression. I like to call it like a quiet depression because most people couldn't tell. I got really good at putting on a mask and just like going with the flow and
Yeah,
just
man.
pretending like everything's okay, um and how I got into spirituality really was through that ayahuasca experience. Before that, I wasn't too exposed to spirituality. um I've experimented with psychedelics, and those experiences played a huge role in, I guess, like the insights that I've gained, helping me find some semblance of peace. But it wasn't until the ayahuasca experience that I was just thrown headfirst into spirituality. It kind of triggered a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And yeah, and ever since then, kind of started my own, online business, just helping people navigate their mind, navigate their thoughts.
Yeah.
Um, and so during that phase I called myself like a guide, a coach, a friend, a healer. But to be honest, I'm Z. I'm just a homie chilling and putting love out there. I think my purpose really, not even I know my purpose really is just to give and receive love, be as open to receiving and be as open to giving as possible. So that's who I identify or describe myself as in this moment, a homie that's just chilling, giving and receive love.
That's that's so beautiful, man. I love the way you put that. Yeah, I wanted to and that's the thing, is this is kind of all over the place, like of just this is literally our first moments of ever interacting together, and there were just different things here and there that I wanted to touch on, and I saw that you were involved with like doing sessions, or I forget what you call them, like consultations of some sort, of
Mhm.
just guidance and being someone there to talk. And I really loved the way you just put that, of like, I first started considering myself a coach and then a healer, but I was like, nah, man, I'm just Z. Like, I love that so
Yeah.
much. I also
Yeah.
love the name of your channel, Moments with Z. It just rolls off the tongue really well.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah.
um so you said you got into psychedelics, you dabbled with them a little bit prior to the ayahuasca.
Mhm.
Kind of a two-part question, but
Okay.
what were the psychedelics you tried when you were just dabbling with them? And
Ooh.
I feel like I roughly remember hearing you talk about it in the ayahuasca video, but what made you pick ayahuasca in particular as
Mm.
a means of medicine? What was it
Yeah.
about ayahuasca that said, I feel called to go and do this down in Peru? Because it's a big
Okay.
undertaking.
Oh yeah, for sure. And to be honest, like I let that idea kind of sit with me, or that calling towards ayahuasca sit with me for about 2 years before I developed the courage to actually do it. But that nudge to go experience that was there for 2 years straight. Um,
How did you
as
find
for
out about it?
Well, kind of just experimenting with psychedelics and then like doing
Right.
my research.
Hmm.
Eventually, it just tied into ayahuasca. In that like psychedelic community, it's eventually gonna connect and tie into ayahuasca. And that's when I started reading about it. And up until that point, I've experimented with LSD, psilocybin mushrooms, vaporized DMT, uh,
Nice, man.
2CB, and and when I read about ayahuasca, it was just like, oh, they've been using this in a tribal setting for many, many years, and they don't perceive it as a drug; they see it as plant medicine.
Hmm.
And there's something about that really kind of drew me towards it, where it's like, oh man, I would love to experience something psychedelic in a healing environment, in a culture that has been using this as medicine for many, many years. Because up until that point, I've only used psychedelics for my own healing purposes, but in the confines or the comfort of my own home. Um, so something about just the shamans,
Yeah. The
the people in the
Icaros.
amps. Yes, exactly. All those things like they've developed over many, many years of practice. I'm like, oh, I got to experience this in the context that it was developed in. So that naturally drew me towards it. And really, my first ever experience wasn't even a psychedelic. It was actually MDMA.
Yep.
Um, Before then, I was a very like straight edge, typical Asian dude. Like I didn't like I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do anything. And then a friend offered me like MDMA for a show one time. This was prior to the show. Like, hey, would you like to, partake? And I don't know why. Like before, I will just hands down, no drugs, like very straight edge. But
Yeah.
something, I don't know, something about this. I was like,
You're like,
there's
you know
something
what?
interesting.
Let's
Yeah,
roll some face, bro. Let's roll some face.
exactly. Yeah, I did my research and like I'm like, oh, okay, this actually isn't too harmful done in the right context, done in the right dosage and everything. So I gave it a shot, and that was what opened my world to the world of like psychedelics and everything. Because, and this goes back again to my mission of like receiving and giving love. Dude, when I rolled for the first time, it was just like I didn't know that I was capable of experiencing so much love.
Yeah,
And
man.
it was like the veil was pulled over my face for the first time, where it's like, oh shit, like love is all around me and within me. And it's so abundant, but it's just, I've been blinded to it. I've been conditioned to close it all off. And everybody's been conditioned to like kind of close himself off instead of just allowing all this flowy, loving energy to flow. Um, yeah, when I experienced that, that just opened the floodgates, and I'm like, there's something to this. There's something
Mhm.
absolutely to this, and I just went down the rabbit hole, man.
How old were you when that MDMA experience took place?
I want to say it was later into my college career, so like probably 22,
Yep.
21 ish. Yep.
Yeah, man. There's to this day, I don't understand how people can use um mind-opening psychedelic substances, MDMA included,
Mhm.
in a merely recreational fashion. Because I initially got into psychedelics as a sort of like an egoic thing of like, because I was 16 years old, I was smoking weed, and long story short, was introduced to LSD through, you ever heard of Chance the Rapper?
Oh yeah.
Yep, yep. Through his particular album Acid Rap, I was introduced to LSD, and he was talking about using LSD for creativity and love and the mysterious vibe of life and all these things. And I was like, what? Like LSD? Isn't that bad synthetic hallucinogen that kills people? Like that's how ignorant at the time I was. And I started to figure, you know what? I'm a hippie. I'm a cool guy. I'm gonna take LSD, bro. I'm gonna take LSD at 16 years old, and took LSD and had a few experiences that were, I guess, what you could say, just sensual enhancements.
Mhm.
Um, but very quickly, I think it was probably like my third or fourth LSD experience, and the first one I ever shared with my brother, where I had the famous ego death experience that I feel is, even to this day, like people describe that experience in many different ways, but I had an experience where, kind of like you said, like the veil was lifted and I realized, put simply, that there is nothing that represents me in particular besides everything that exists. And I realized that who I am is just who I think I am, and I've been imprisoned in this idea, this literal mental cognitive idea of, I'm Devin, I'm a human, I'm a spiritual guy, I'm on LSD. And the way this came about was, I had, like you said, I had done my research. As Terrence McKenna says, I had done my homework and I knew about this whole ego death thing. So I took the LSD and I started tripping, and I was tripping pretty hard. And I was like, okay, this is that zone where ego death should happen, right? I'm tripping pretty hard. Shouldn't I have that ego death thing? And I put it to the test. I said, okay, who am I? I said that to myself. And my mind starts telling me who it thinks I am. It started saying, I'm Devin. I'm a human. I'm on LSD. I'm up at my grandfather's house right now. I'm 16 years old. I'm this, I'm that. And I was like, nah, like, and without even realizing, I was like, nah, dude, like that's an idea happening in my mind. Who is it that I am? And my mind kept trying to tell me who I was. And I kept being like, no, like that's not who I am. That's a fucking idea in me. Who is this I that these ideas are happening in? And it completely expanded into, and it was quite frightening because um when you were talking about your ayahuasca experience, I related to that really deeply. The feeling of you having lost your mind. Um, and if you don't mind, I do want to kind of dive into that. I know you've
Mm,
probably talked about it many times, but it's just such an interesting story, man.
yeah,
And I think you're the first person I've ever actually talked with that's been down to Peru and participated in an ayahuasca ceremony and heard the Icaros and
yeah,
experienced the ayahuasca. And that's so fascinating to me. But I started to feel like I was like out of my mind. I was realizing like my mind is frantically trying to tell me who I am, but who I am is just being who I am. And I've always been that. And what I am, there isn't something in particular that I am besides this body, these sights, this room, my brother, everything. And there
hmm
was no time where, like you were saying, you couldn't imagine what it meant to be sober or for a moment to pass from one to the next, how it was just this eternal now of what you were experiencing in that moment. That's
yeah,
how it felt for me. And I remember it was like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning or whatever. And I'm fucking opened up into like God consciousness, like self-realization, imposed self-realization by this LSD. And I'm like, people are gonna start waking up. Like, what is sleep? What the fuck?
yeah,
Why do we lay down in bed and like zone out for a few hours? Like, what even is that? And the feeling of like not knowing what it's like to be sober. Like I felt like I was like stuck like that. The classic feeling of being stuck tripping. I felt that. But that was really the experience where this is kind of a long-winded way of saying it. I was like, I can't do this shit for fun. Like
yeah,
this isn't a fun time. Like
right,
I just got open to some like crazy shit, but I just wanted to share that to relate it to how the MDA was kind of MDMA. I said MDA because I've tried MDA. The
uh-huh.
MDMA for you was like an opener into realizing there is something inside of working with these substances.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, first, thanks a lot for sharing that, man. And the question that's kind of coming up for me is like when you experience that ego death and you realize that these constructs that your mind is trying to create and attach a sense of identity to, once you realize that, I guess what were some of the key takeaways that you took away from that experience that you still kept with you to this day?
It's funny that you mentioned that, Z, because my brother and I were just talking about it last night of I was 17 or so years old when this ego death experience took place, and there was just there was so much like it's its whole story of its own of how I was introduced into spirituality and psychedelics and these kinds of things, but I was learning so much and just it was like this door was opened through the psychedelics and what the psychedelics were showing me and all these things that I was studying and learning about was all just pouring into me. And what I was talking to my brother about last night was how to this day I'm still very much so integrating what it was that even happened through that period of time because I don't trip nowhere near as much as I used to when I
Mhm.
initially it was kind of like the honeymoon phase where like
Yeah.
I got introduced to the psychedelics and had my mind blown, and I just kept doing these experiences, mainly with LSD and DMT. But I'm very much so still processing what
Mm,
happened because what it was that really happened or felt as if it happened was that I saw into the nature of how who I think I am and my personality is nothing more than an idea. And I remember it was the day after like one of my first real LSD experiences. I was standing in my room, and this was even before the ego death, the real like raw ego death experience I had on the LSD. This was like after my first experience, but I'm standing in my room, and you can see behind me, it was stuff like this. I had tapestries and these posters, and I had a little altar with all these Indian gods and deities and statues and incense and mala beads, and as you can see, it hasn't really gone anywhere. But I remember I was standing in my room and I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, that's not who I am, that's who I'm trying to be. I'm not being me, I'm busy trying to be who I think I am. And it was really hard on me because it made me feel like I was a poser, a phony, a douchebag, a faker. Like I'm trying to act cool and trying to be this and trying to be that. I'm doing everything except being what I actually am. And what kind of started to come out of that was kind of a rude and cutthroat approach to not only myself but others, where I'd have a desire or I'd have a passion to do something, and my mind, my ego, the thing that I thought I had woken up to, would start having this negative self-talk of, that's just an idea, that's just your ego, that's literally doesn't amount to anything, you're being such a ego right now, that's not who you are, that's just an idea, and it's nothing, it's not real, it doesn't hold any sort of depth. And I, as a young kid at 17 years old, didn't know how to process the information that the psychedelics were opening me to, where I took the psychedelics and I saw the one spirit, the one awareness, this being, this moment that I am, that you are, that everything fundamentally is. But I took that and, through the filter of my own mind, started saying, I'm just an idea. I'm nobody. I don't even exist. And if I think I exist, it's just this make-believe idea. And I would be very harsh to people that also have egos, and be very judgmental of looking around like, wow, you're such a ego, look how fucking lost in your ego you are, you have so much, you're so caught, I'm so much more spiritual than you, and that whole complex. My mind couldn't process what the psychic, because it's not like the LSD and the spirit of these substances, it's not like that's what it was saying. That's how I interpreted that energy and that space. And at the time, it was through a very distorted, egoic perspective of, my ego's going, I'm nobody and neither are you. And who you think you are and what problems you think you have, that's just a fucking idea. And it's not even real. And like, if you'd wake up to your true self, you'd see that. And just this very harsh and, in a way, ignorant, um, like a spiritual bypassy kind of perspective. And that's still very much so with me. But what's changed over time, man, and is still changing to this day, is I've gotten a little more quiet, and I'm working on becoming more compassionate to myself and others, because there is a very harsh way in which spiritual, or what seems to be spiritual wisdoms, can be conveyed. But you have to look at, is the way you're expressing it helping or hurting? And I realized, like, wow, I'm over here talking about ego, but a lot of the time it's coming out of my ego. the psychedelics blew my mind to pieces, so I felt I had to blow everybody else's mind to pieces, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And yeah, if anything's changed, it's that been working on being a little more chill, being a little more like letting people be what they are, letting my ego trip out and be the little ego that it is, and not using this wisdom to my own disadvantage and disempowerment, as well as with others. Not if someone's upset because like they like didn't get a girl or like didn't make a lot of money or whatever it is that we could identify as an attachment to like materialism or something,
Mhm.
let them be that, let them be what they are. And just mainly trying to develop a cleaner, quieter, more equanimous approach to not only myself but teaching others as well, because I feel like we can know all this crazy shit, but it can be spun through an egoic perspective, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's real.
100% that.
Yeah, that's really the main thing, is that I'm not someone,
Yeah.
and how much that hurt the someone that I think I am. Yeah.
Gotcha. Dude, I feel that. I feel that so much, especially the being quieter, being more chill part, because I was far from chill in the beginning.
Yeah.
And like, well, especially when it comes to the mental chatter, it was crazy. Nonstop
Yeah,
mental chatter.
right, bro.
Yeah, moment to moment. And especially, I really relate to well, my own experience when I first discovered psychedelics, and it did so much positive healing for me that I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing in the world. Everybody got to do this. And I was kind of just projecting that outward into anybody I talked to who would give me the time of day, towards my friends. And it took me a while to really just like chill out and just like relax and just let people be on their journey. And if
Right.
it feels right for me to bring it up, then
Hmm.
sure. But if not, I'm gonna just hang back and let them do their thing, you know?
For sure, bro. And yeah, I like that a lot. And you've touched on opening up more so to uh oh, and by the way, I think I can only record for 40-minute segments. So
Okay.
when the 40 minutes is up, I'll just call you back or whatever I have to do, and then just start another recording. Because
Sounds good.
I don't have Zoom Pro. I'm not a fucking pro Zoomer.
Okay.
Um,
All good.
but yeah, you were talking about giving and receiving love, being open to giving and receiving love. And recently, very recently, as a matter of fact, I've been kind of experimenting more so with sharing my what it feels that I know, and what resides deep in my heart of, because a lot of what resides deep in my heart is these crazy and profound perspective shifts of looking at life in a whole different way than what our mainstream culture does and how they look at it. Um, and I've found myself a lot of the time, man, biting my tongue and not sharing what I know, and hiding my YouTube channel who who I am. There, you know, there's Devin and then there's Northwood Shaman, and it's like it's these two separate people. And it's like, oh God, I don't want my dad and my grandfather and their friends to know about me. But it's like I'm doing that because I feel like I can't adequately express these things that I've learned, that I hold so deep inside my heart. It's like I'm trying to protect them by remaining in their state of mind, rather than coming out from behind the the veil and saying like, hey, there's another way you can look at this, you know? And
Mm,
I've found myself so much holding back from responding in a way that is spontaneously arising within me, but I'm thinking I'm not cut out to tell them this kind of stuff. They have to learn it on their own. You know what I mean? Like like, oh yeah, the weather is really nice. You know what I mean? Like just remaining on that mainstream level. Or if someone's being really judgmental and like
Yeah.
gossiping about someone, being like, oh yeah, like that sucks. Like rather than, hey, why are you so invested in what you think of this other person? Something that just actually comes out of how I feel about how people are being.
Yes.
Um, Trying more so to just be what I am, and to bring Northwood Shaman and Devon together, because it's one being. I'm one being, and why hide myself? Because
Yeah.
I don't think I'm cut out to share these deep wisdoms. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
So,
I'm gonna say it wrong, and oh, I'm gonna blow their reality apart. I don't want to do that.
mhm.
But wondering to myself, is it hurting more to hold back from what I feel in response to someone,
Mhm.
more than it is to actually share with them how I feel about what they're saying and how they're being? You know what I mean? Like what's helping more? Wouldn't I rather sloppily express my love than not express it at all, out of fear that I'm not going to do it good enough, you know?
I get that.
Yeah,
Oh
bro.
man, I
So
get that. It's if I may, sorry, I kind of cut you off there, but if I
not at all,
may
man.
interject there, I so I kind of dance between two extremes during my journey where it's like before I was just projecting and just saying everything. So I didn't hold back at all. And then I held back a ton.
Right.
Um because part of it was like fear of judgment and and
Fear
then
of
I
fear of you being judged, or fear of you judging others?
fear of me being judged, like
Yeah.
kind of being seen as like, oh, what the fuck was this guy talking about? He's crazy,
Yeah.
anything like that, you know.
Right.
um I eventually like the balance that I eventually found was that I saw it in a different way. Like in those moments, there's like two sets of needs. Like, well, I guess at a deeper level, we don't really have needs, but to be part of this game, part of this life experience, I'm just gonna use the word needs. Um, in that moment, when someone is like asking about the weather or shooting the shit when it comes to sports or whatever, it's like,
Right.
what are my needs in this moment and what are their needs in this moment?
Hmm.
um my needs a lot of times is I want to express, I want to connect, and then like, okay, what is their needs in this moment? Oh, maybe they just need a friend. So then once I become a bit more attuned and aware of both of our needs, then I can decide like how I would how I can express myself in a way that honors both of our needs,
Hmm.
because I deserve to express myself. I have something powerful and valuable to offer. Um, and at the same time, I do not want to disrespect where they're at in their journey, because if I like kind of start spewing what I believe is, truth,
Right.
um, it might not be what they need in that moment, and I'd be
Hmm.
doing them a disservice, and it'd be very selfish of me just to satisfy and satiate my need to express, just to like kind of maybe even further confuse them, so
Right.
that's the balance that I personally found that has helped me retain and develop relationships in a way
Hmm.
where my needs are honored and their needs are also honored.
That's very good, man. I like that a lot. It sounds like you're very much so focused and recognizing the balance, like you said, between you sharing what you know and what you believe to be true and important and meaningful, but also seeing where they're at and what in that
Yeah,
moment in particular they may be looking for or asking for.
yeah,
Like I've
yeah,
made this joke with my mom, who I'm so blessed to have a spiritual connection with. Like, someone stubs their toe, and they stub their toe, and I come up, and they're like, and I'm like, it's like, you're just an illusion, it's okay, like that's just a feeling, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what level are we gonna come in at? And it's like, even you said it in the beginning, like on a deeper level there is no needs, and that's what makes this shit so fucking rich and complicated is the levels of perspective that we become aware of through this work that we do. And like, where do we find that balance? And that's why in each moment of how we go about that moment, it's so so multifaceted, because you know, you're just hanging out with somebody and they're just talking about the weather, and we're over here going, I wish to express my inner truth, but what if they aren't ready to hear what I have to say? And like, there's this, it's like spiritual beings or whatever you want to call what we're associated with. It's like there's this whole nother plane that we're on of how to go about a situation. And, you know, looking from the inside out, you could go, oh, we're just overthinking and being over analytical. But I think it's deeper than that, that we're trying to look at how to utilize each and every moment in a way that best suits the awakening of both of us. Something that doesn't bog me down from my truth, but also something that allows the other person to be right where they are and not bog them down with these perspectives that they may not be ready to even hear, you know. And it's
Yeah.
very much so a balance of, sometimes you just gotta be a fucking spiritual person and be like, yeah, the weather is crazy right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
times you gotta be that one that's like, you know, why are you always just talking about the weather? Like,
Yeah.
don't you wonder why we're here, bro? Don't you wonder what this is? Like, how do you feel inside? Tell me how you feel inside. Like, what is this life we're experiencing? We're literally gonna die in the next like 60 or 70 summers. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? That bomb. Definitely trying to find a balance in between
Yeah.
that. It's, bro, thank you so much. I already love you so much, man. Like, your vibe and your
Likewise.
energy is really
Likewise.
cool. You seem, I didn't, this is literally the first fucking 40 minutes of us ever being in the
Yeah.
moment together, but I don't know how you were in the past, but now you very much do so seem like calm,
Mm.
collected, clear-headed, just right here with what's happening, and I love that so much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
seeing
dude.
me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
bro.
that.
Yeah. Computer, yes. There we go. Did you hear that? Recording in
Yes.
progress.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yes.
that was a nice little break that we had there. You got to go to the
Mm-hmm.
bathroom. I upgraded to Zoom Pro, and here we are. Dude,
Yep.
I want to ask you a bit more about yourself, of course, because you are the guest on this episode I have here. But
Uh,
dude, I just wanted to touch real quick on how beautiful it was. You saying thank you for seeing me. Like, it's almost like that's what we're all looking for is, am I alone? Like, is someone, hello, hello, hello. Is there anybody out there? Like, dude, like, we're all like, yo, like, do you see me? And
yeah.
then everyone else is like, yeah, yeah, whatever. But yo, do you see me? And we're like, yeah, yeah, but yo, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
we're right here. We're not listening to each other, but we're asking the same question. And I just want to say it's so beautiful, bro. And like, it's like one of the main things with the spiritual community, the satsang or the sangha,
Mm-hmm.
is being present together.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for saying that, man. And thank you for even recognizing that. That's so precious. That's so special.
Of course, man. Of course.
So, Mr. Z, you kind of already touched on how you became involved with psychedelics. Your friend, I mean, if you would consider using the MDMA as a introductory to just the world of substances, how your friend offered that to you and you're like, you know what, fuck it, let's try this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you've talked about it before, but run me through that ayahuasca experience, man. I wanna hear that from Moments with Z himself. I want to hear what that was
Yeah.
all about.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm happy to talk about it.
Which
It's an
retreat
experience.
center?
Oh, I went to Arcana Spiritual Center.
No way, you did go to Arcana. That's so cool, man. Do you know Dakota Wint and like your mate Tom?
Um, I know Dakota went, and who was the second?
Your mate Tom, he's this Australian psychedelic YouTuber, and he's really close friends with Dakota. But yeah,
Ah,
they fucking went there, and that's just so cool. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's so cool that you went there.
yeah, yeah, all good, man. Yeah, I just like there was a website that specifically reviews ayahuasca retreats, and our Kana Spiritual Center was like consistently number one in
Yep.
terms of its quality, but also its value.
Yes.
It wasn't like, you know, astronomically expensive. So I went there and had the most eye-opening, heart-opening, mind-opening experience ever. Um, yeah, yeah, I could talk definitely about that
Fuck yeah, bro.
experience,
I want to hear about
dude.
it.
Going into it, I was pumped, I was psyched because first ceremony, it was nothing but empowering and uplifting, nothing scary at all. So going to the second one, I'm like, yeah, I got this in the bag, man. There's no problem. This is
Yeah,
chilling.
that's
And
funny,
then
man.
in retrospect, I had to have that empowering first ceremony to
Right.
build me up so that I can handle the second one.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. And again, like when I took it, I really didn't think everything like anything was gonna go off the rails like that. And I still remember like one of the other participants there, her name is Donna, who I'm like really close friends with now. She started freaking out. She was like, "Am I dead?" Like 15 minutes after she ingested, she's like, "Am I dead?" And I'm like, "Whoa!" Like she's about to lose it, man. And
Yeah.
part of me was like, amateur, you know,
Was
like
this in the first experience?
this was in the second one.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, okay.
yeah, I was like, amateur, because like you know, at that point, I've experimented with psychedelics plenty of times, so I thought like, oh, I can navigate the spaces, no problem. Um, but yeah, it just started teaching me. The whole experience started teaching me, and the spirit of ayahuasca started teaching me the nature of the human mind and how we just aren't really taught how to use the mind. So then our focus goes all over the place, projecting into futures that haven't happened yet and may never happen, or dwelling into the past, and we're just missing the whole show that is right in front of us in this present moment right now. Um, and even though I was given and gifted that knowledge, it was hard to be present because I was so used to, you know, anxious thinking and operating in a specific way for so many years. And so the knowledge wasn't enough for it to really just sink in with me.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, that's when the spirit was like, yeah, you're a pretty extreme case, Z. Let's dial this up a notch.
I
And
remember you saying that. Did it say that to you? Did you, was that like a downloaded message that was said from ayahuasca?
specifically as in like let's dial this up a notch, or which
Yeah,
message?
yeah, you're an extreme case. I remember you saying that on your video.
Yeah, the extreme case for sure. And it is so difficult to put it into words. It was like the way it communicated, it's like a very gentle, all-encompassing whisper that there's just no room for miscommunication, like at all.
Wow.
um yeah, it's amazing. And I specifically remember like, oh man, yeah, this kid is a special case. We got to really deal with this dude. um and that's when, as you know, that's when I started to slowly, well, actually not so slowly, quickly losing my mind, very very quickly, dude. um Nothing made sense. I didn't know how to move my body, control my face. I just lost anything. I guess the best way to put it was I lost all ability to understand any form of communication, whether it's receiving communication from other people or um, gi- giving, expressing communication to my body to do things that I wanted to do. Just
Right.
nothing made any sense to me. And that's honestly like I didn't realize that was one of my biggest fears until it happened, and I was like, oh my god, this is terrifying. Um, I saw visions of myself in like a mental institution,
Yep.
and people were really broken up about it, really sad in the vision. Of course, they were very broken up about it. My family members, my friends. And then what was even scarier was that like as it as that vision progressed, it some people just started leaving me because it was like well, I know like I love Z and all, but he's in this state and I still got to go live a life. I still got to work. I still got to do what I got to do. And he's not changing. He's just forever in the state now. So I got to go off my life. And that was a very heartbreaking and scary experience to have seen, just like friends leaving. Um, I just never felt so alone. Like no one
Yeah.
could have reached me at all. No one could reach me. I didn't know who I was, and I was so desperate to be seen. I was so desperate to be accepted. I was so desperate to be loved in that space of solitude. I was just so desperate for all these things that I could not have. And I don't think I actually said everything that I experienced in that video because there were just so many different messages, insights
Right.
that started coming through in that state. Um, this might be the first time I'm sharing this. It's one of the insights that came through while I was in that crazy state was that it's our relationship with death that traps a lot of people. And what I mean by that is so many people are conditioned to see death as the worst thing possible. And so they spend most of their life avoiding death. And when we do that, when we live from a space of constantly avoiding death, we're inadvertently mm, blocking ourselves from everything that is beautiful about life. We're inadvertently blocking life too. We have to accept that death is part of the experience and receive everything life has to offer. And when I first got that insight in that state, I was just like, oh no, like this is too much. How like it's just turning my whole perception of what death is completely on its head. And I was already in a quote unquote crazy state, and you dropped that bomb on me. It was just like it was just too much. Um, so it just felt like my psyche, everything just kept fracturing and kept fracturing. My perception of what is like right or wrong, what death is, what's the point of life, everything just started breaking away completely. It was a lot to handle.
I want to ask, did you know that you were on ayahuasca down in Peru?
Mm,
Or was
yes,
that you did? So there was
I
an
did.
innate knowing I'm on ayahuasca in Peru right now. This is fucking crazy.
Yes, and the reason why I know that was I specifically remember saying this to myself, at least in my own head. I was like, oh shit, I fucked up. Like I took ayahuasca in this place, and now I forever kind of glitched my mind, and it's
Yep,
fractured
yep,
permanently.
yep.
Yeah, that's how I knew that. Like, oh, okay, I still knew that I took something, but I just know moving forward, I'm fucked. Or that's how I kind of was.
Dude, that's so fucking funny. I too have had that experience with DMT, smoked DMT. I had an
Mm,
experience where, I want you to get back to the story, but really quick. I
yeah.
smoked DMT with my brother. I had this fucking beautiful breakthrough like experience. And then when we came down, we were like, let's do it again, bro. So we did it again, but rather than drifting back into the breakthrough realm, it was like I fucked my brain up.
mm,
I'm no longer having a DMT trip. The DMT fucked with my brain and now I'm stuck in this insanity. And
hmm.
this is literally fucking 15 seconds after hitting the pipe, and I'm still coming up and about to peak on DMT, but 10 seconds after hitting, I'm thinking, whoa, I just fucked my head up. I didn't just do a psychedelic. I like fucked my head and like, this is
Yep.
reality now. And yeah, dude, it was a fucking wild, wild ride. And it went away just as quick as it came because that's how smoked DMT is. But
Hmm.
yeah, I felt that too. And I was like, oh, I fucked up. I fucked up. And I was having
Yeah.
visions of like, how the guy that I've gotten LSD from, which is just some big hippie wook guy, being like I was having a vision of him being like, yeah, man, some people take psychedelics and they're fine, but other people take psychedelics and they just like get stuck in this weird state. And it was like this
Hmm.
feeling of him being like, oh, that's too bad. Like Devin was one of them. Devin.
Oh snap.
Yeah, yeah. It's too bad, man. You were a good kid. Now you're brain fried and you're gonna have to live in a mental hospital because you're high on DMT forever. And it didn't even feel like I was on DMT. It felt like I fucked my head up. And
Yeah.
what's weird is my brother had the same episode. And in fact, he actually brought me into it. It was a
Oh
weird experience. We can talk about it some other time, but
yeah.
carry on with this ayahuasca experience you were having.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, I'm glad that we could connect and relate to that particular experience,
Yeah, man.
because that's not something that we can easily describe to other people and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, okay, I get it." Like
Right.
it, we have to know it from experience how
Hmm.
scary that is, you know. So I'm glad that we can trauma bond almost.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's for sure scary, bro.
Yeah. And so going back to my ayahuasca experience when I was in that state. Oh my God, wow. I haven't recalled this story in so long, but now that I'm recalling it, I'm remembering the feeling that I had. It's just a it's it's like an ocean of loneliness. It's so big, it's so vast, and it's so lonely. No one could reach me. I couldn't even reach myself. I didn't even know who I was like fully, and nothing made sense. I didn't know that we can be that alone, you know? And in retrospect, it was like what was actually happening was that my mind was operating in a really wacky way prior to taking ayahuasca, but I didn't realize it. It was just my way of navigating the world. And a lot of people around me had a similar way of thinking. So it's almost like everyone was sick, but because everyone was sick, no one knew what health and well-being even looked like anymore. So no one knew that they
Wow.
were sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro.
Um, and what ayahuasca was doing for me was it was shifting my way of being into a more natural and authentic and aligned way of being. But in the midst of that, in the middle of that process, it looks like just pure chaos and pure craziness. It it
Kind of
would be
like
like,
the
mhm,
caterpillar who goes into the cocoon and maybe doesn't even know why he's going into a cocoon and then literally dissolves into goo,
mhm,
only to emerge as a butterfly later
mhm.
on.
Yeah.
I have heard that analogy, the way you just so naturally described it, of how in the midst of like, because I was thinking that you said that ayahuasca is refining you and bringing you down to a natural way of being, but
Mhm,
I'm thinking to myself, you're in the midst of that, like you said, you literally fucking feel like you're insane, you don't know who you are in an ocean of loneliness, you maybe even feel feelings of hating yourself, all these incredibly chaotic and conflicting and intense emotions, but that's the process. And that's so wild to me, man. That's so wild. I
yeah.
feel you.
It Thank you, man. Thank you for feeling me. And again, thank you for seeing me. I love that caterpillar to butterfly analogy. Never saw it that way, but now I can't unsee it. I love
Right.
that.
Right.
It's like in the midst of the process, if we just like open up the cocoon, we're just like, oh my God, what the heck is going on right
Yeah, right. If you
now?
come in and pry that cocoon open, you're not gonna
Yeah.
see a fucking beautiful butterfly or a little baby caterpillar. You're just gonna see a bunch of fucking plasmic goop.
Goop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
That's that's why I'm so grateful, and I fully understand why they hold those ceremonies in the dark. You know, the cocoon
Right.
has to be encased in darkness because there's some things don't necessarily need to be seen in the midst of the
Like
process.
like if the lights come on at the rave and you just
Oh my
see
God.
and you see the fucking grotesque monsters that are dancing next to you. Like, what are we doing right now, bro?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
so fucking funny.
exactly.
Carry on, man.
Exactly.
Carry on with the opening up of the butterfly wings, man. I want to hear it.
Oh man, yeah, opening up the butterfly wings. dude, it was, I will never forget that experience. It still stays with me till this day.
Yeah, man.
That when I was trying to, and again for like the listeners that haven't seen the video itself, it was such a lonely place that I wanted to end it. I was like, nothing is better than suffering to this degree and experiencing this loneliness. So I tried to end the experience. I tried to commit suicide. I was trying to like bang my head on the floor and just like end the experience however I knew how. Um, and
That's
again,
insane, man.
yeah, thanks to the facilitators there. They're so good at their job. They immediately recognize what was going on. And I'd imagine I wasn't the first time having, like, I wasn't the first person having that type of
For
experience.
sure.
They had friggin' ropes on hand, dude, hog tied me.
Are you serious, bro?
Yeah, I'm dead serious, dead serious. I have like eyewitness, other people can vouch for me.
Hog-tied you.
They straight up hog-tied me. I didn't even know what hog-tied meant until that experience. And then I was like, it sucks to be a hog. So
You
yeah,
fucking imagine like a camera scene of you screaming and being hogtied, and then it's freeze frame. You're probably wondering how I got myself into this situation. That's so nuts, bro.
exactly. And
You-
I had three full-grown like Peruvian men just like pinning my ass down because I was still like squirming and trying to end it all. Um, I remember this one time, I mean, this one part of the experience was my desire to be free was so strong that I was like, I'm gonna bust out of this shit. Like, I'm just gonna bust out of this. And I I just went like full Super Saiyan mode, and I was like, "Hoo-ah," and I was like trying to lift myself up and like bust open. The funny thing was that
It's
caught
too
them by
funny, man.
surprise. That caught them by surprise because again, three full grown ass Peruvian men holding me down, and then I actually was lifting myself up and like pushing them back, and I got this sense of like, oh shit, this kid is doing something right now. So then they had to double down and it was like boom. And then I was like, that's when I was fully incapacitated. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, I gave it my all. I went full Super Saiyan. And like
Oh
I
shit, this
still
kid's going Super Saiyan.
yeah, exactly.
That's
So
so funny, man.
even then I couldn't bust out. So then I was just like, you know what? That's that. I gotta accept that this is what it is. And that was kind of the key to it, the acceptance of it. Like this is it. It is what it is. This is my life that I accept. And through that acceptance, that's what opened everything up. That's what opened my mind, my heart, my soul to allow everything to flow through and come through into this natural, flowy, but also intentional way of living. And oh my God, when I finally accepted, that was when the moment of enlightenment just came surging through. I went from like a localized consciousness of I am Z in this body to just fully expanded, felt the entirety of the universe. So expansive, so spacious. And the word that comes through is perfect. Everything was freaking perfect in this world, in this universe. It's almost like it's hard to see the perfection of everything because we're so in it. But it'd be like if we took a picture and then we zoom in and we zoom in and we see all the singular pixels and we're just like, this makes no sense. This is not perfection. But then when you zoom out and you see the beautiful masterpiece that
Yep.
is life, that is this universe, I'm like, wow, it's so perfect. It's so beautiful.
That reminds me of Alan Watts talking about you know you're familiar with Alan Watts, right?
Of course.
Yes. I was gonna say, of course he is. Yes, exactly. He
Mhm.
talks about how if you were to zoom in on the bloodstream, you would see all these cells at literal war, waging war with each other, and bacteria is being attacked and eaten and dissolved, and cells bursting and multiplying and dividing, and all these sides fighting, and everything is just chaotic going at it. But when you zoom out, you see the harmony of what that creates, being our body alone. Of On the close level, it's complete chaos and war and picking sides and disagreeing and fighting. But what that allows for is a greater scaled harmony, a greater scaled picture of perfection, like you said. And I liked that analogy you gave a lot. And then you can even go further and see that we as individuals are just like those little cells that are fighting and picking sides and choosing this and that and pushing them away and pulling them in and multiplying, and how that creates the harmony of the greater cosmos. And it's so beautiful how the fractal, how it goes through and through in an infinite in and out vantage. And on one level it looks like complete chaos and imperfection and what the fuck could this ever amount to? And then you zoom out and you see, oh, it's part of what's needed for this greater balance and this greater beauty of creation. I love that so much.
Exactly, man. Yeah, that perfection that I felt, it gave me so much peace moving forward. Because whenever I go through difficult moments now, I just recall back to that moment. I recall back to that peaceful feeling of perfection. Like, oh yeah, everything is okay. Even though in this moment it feels kind of rocky, tumultuous, I know in the grand scheme of things, this is perfection right now. And yeah, it's got me through some tough nights, let's just put it that way. And I'm forever thankful for that experience.
It's so incredible, man. Like you're like I was saying, you're the first person I've ever talked with that's really been down there with the spirit of ayahuasca. And I've never done ayahuasca. I've smoked DMT, I've done changa, I've done LSD, I've done psilocybin mushrooms, but not even in a significant dose range.
Mm,
And it's just really beautiful because, of course, I've watched all sorts of documentaries on ayahuasca and listened to trip reports of people's experiences with ayahuasca, which is actually how I came across you.
mm,
But yeah, it's so cool to have you in my presence telling me directly about that experience you had. And there's such a funny cosmic humor in it too. And I love so much how you're able to see the, like, how did I get myself into this situation, bro? I'm literally hogtied with three Peruvian men on me. Like, that's so fucking, that's out there, man. It's wild what these substances open us to.
mm-hmm.
And strangely enough, one of the most intense experiences I ever had with a substance wasn't even a classic psychedelic. It was MDA. Have you heard of MDA?
I've heard of it, but never experienced it.
Yep, it's a little bit different than MDMA. And MDA is more psychedelic in effect than it
Mm,
is compared to MDMA. And I tried this stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's like an entactogen. I kind of want to experience that empathogenic effect, you know? And I had three beautiful experiences with it. And then one night I took it and my brother and I did it together. And my dose, it was a powder, but there was this little crystal that I hadn't crushed up. And I took it out. I was like, oh, I don't need that much. And my brother was like, come on, you're limiting yourself. Just do it. I was like, all right. And then I proceeded to chew up this rock of drugs.
mm,
And I think, I don't even know if it was MDA, bro. I didn't test it. I didn't weigh the dose I took or anything. But I think what happened was I took way too much of this substance. And I was fully convinced that night that I was going to die. Like I
oh wow.
knew I was literally going to die. And the way it started was just I started getting very hot, feeling very hot. And that's one of the many ways that people most commonly die from these substances is overheating. And I was fucking pouring sweat and I was taking my shirt off and holding a fan in front of me. And I was like losing touch with reality. Like I was slurring my words. My vision was completely blurry. My heart was just pounding. My body was fucking raging with heat. I was like, I'm literally going to die. And like, even though I'm still here right now, in that moment, my ego knew I was going to die. And the power of that realization that I'm going to die tonight because I wanted to hang out and take this drug, you know what I mean? And like now I have to say goodbye to my brother and my mom and my dad and this life, and I'm going to be going into the afterlife experience tonight, and well, this is it, you know. I'm with my brother and I'm like, see you, bro. I'm fucking literally gonna die. And like
Mm.
it was just such a moving experience. So raw to have happen, to know I was going to die. And it was just a very well, it wasn't even like a philosophical thing. It wasn't
Mm.
like a wow, I'm aware of the me that's aware of me. It wasn't even like on that level. It was like, bro, I'm fucking dying right now. And like feeling out of touch with reality. So it was very strange to have such a moving experience that wasn't even a traditional psychedelic substance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can I ask something like following up to that?
Absolutely.
In those moments where like we're confronted with the prospect of death, in my experience, like at least with ego death, it dwarfed everything else that happened in my life. Like in contrast to death, in that moment where I think like, oh shit, I think I'm about to die now. Everything else that I've done in my life, the good, the bad, everything I've experienced just becomes so minuscule and so
Right.
small. Did you feel something similar when you thought that you were going to die? Like all your problems kind of just shrank to nothing?
I guess in a way you could say that. I wasn't thinking about how like, you know, I don't have enough money or oh, I miss that girl
Mhm.
or the argument I got in with that person. Like I don't remember the particular space I was in because you know, every single day has this sort of drudging of like minuscule drama with it that we carry it along with us. And I can't remember at that moment what that minuscule little stuff was.
Mhm.
But in a way, I can relate to what you're saying of like, I was no longer thinking on the little scale of, you know, just I'm gonna take a drug and hang out with my brother tonight. Like I was like, I'm fucking dying. Like I'm gonna die tonight. And that's what was so yes, in a way, yeah, it did completely wash away who I thought I was and what I thought was important and all the little thing. If anything, it made me feel like how much I actually love life.
Mm.
Because the only reason I'm so distraught right now is because I don't want to die.
Wow.
I don't want to die. Please don't let me die. I fuck like, but feeling like I know I'm going to die because there were mad red flags and fucking error messages going off in my body, like saying, you're fucking dying right now. Like it
Yeah.
was so nasty how it felt, bro. It felt literally like my body was falling apart. Like
Wow.
I had killed myself with by taking too much of this drug. And I just remember how surreal it felt to think that I'm dying, of like, this is it. Like, this is my last moments right now. I'm gonna fucking, I don't know what's coming next. I don't know. All I knew was like, I'm dying. And I kept trying to do what I thought was surrender to the experience of to just let this happen. Just let this happen. It's okay. But my mind is going, you're dying. You're
Mhm.
letting death happen. You're about to die. You're gonna die. You took too much of this drug. You're fucked. You're done, dude. And I'm going, just let this happen. Just let this happen. And I got into this completely fucking weird state of mind, man, where like my brother was just like looking at me like, what the fuck is this kid going through? Because like I had taken my shirt off and I was just like writhing around the room, just like doing all this weird stuff with my body. And my brother would be like, dude, what are you doing? And like, are you okay, bro? And I kept being like, I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm just sweating. I'm just sweating. I'm good. I'm good. I'm just sweating. And I just kept repeating myself. And I was like completely in a fucking another state of awareness, bro, because I knew I'm gonna die. And it was just, it was such a fucking powerful experience. And I literally took I had bought a gram of this shit, whatever it was. I threw it in the trash, bro. I threw it. Yeah, I threw it. I was like, $90 a gram. I don't give a shit, bro. I'd give $90 to live another day. Like,
Yeah.
fuck this shit. Get this out of my life, bro.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Dude, thank you so much. This has really been fun, man.
Likewise, dude. This has been great.
So I got a direct question to you. What are your main practices, your main spiritual practices that you utilize in day-to-day life?
That's such a good question, man. So thank you so much for asking that.
Yeah, of course,
And
bro.
see, the main day-to-day spiritual practices in the morning, I have a routine where I like to connect with the body, just kind of move it around. Stretching is a big one because I used to carry a lot of tension throughout my body that was reflected uh, by the rigidity of my mind. Like I was very set in my ways, basically.
Yep.
And
It's a
that
beautiful
came
way to put
across.
that, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So rigid in my body. So now I just feel a lot more looser. And then another big part of my morning ritual is breath work, just connecting with the breath, breathing deeply. I this was something that I learned from the Arcana retreat itself. One of the facilitator, he walked us through a breath work / meditation session, and it was like, enjoy your breath. And
Mhm.
I've never heard anyone say that before. It's so
Same,
simple. It's
right?
so simple and yet so powerful. Like, oh shit, I can enjoy my breath. It's something that's with me for my entire life, for our entire life, and yet I've never enjoyed it. And it's something that's so enjoyable, especially if you're ever in a altered state of consciousness. That's when you can realize just how enjoyable the breath is. So a big part of my routine is breath work. Um, and then I top it off with like 10 things that I'm thankful for. So gratitude. And and then at the end of the day, I do the exact same thing, connect with my body, but in a way that like down regulates my nervous system instead of up regulates it. Again, with the meditation and breath work to down regulate, and then 10 things that I'm grateful for so that I'm going to sleep in a space where I'm just filled with thankfulness and gratitude. Is a great way to start my day and a great way to round out my day. So those are some of my main spiritual practices. The meditation, of course, is such a big one that I just do whenever I need to do some. It could be used for me personally, like as a maintenance type of work too, for how cluttered my mind can get if I don't declutter, sort of like a home, it just
Right.
accumulates a bunch of trash.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, those are my main spiritual practices.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. It sounds like a very, I hear that and it just sounds like a like refreshing. It just sounds so
Mm,
refreshing. Like, because
yeah.
that's how a lot of this stuff. That's probably how it can feel for you of just, waking up and how stiff you can feel already just from being in the sleeping position all night and just getting that body moving and getting the energy moving through the body and taking the moment to sit down before you've invested so deeply into the flow of the day and the thoughts just get racing immediately, taking a moment to just center and just, here we are, another day. And
Exactly.
the writing of 10 things that you're grateful for. I love that so much. Um, I used to kind of look at that kind of stuff as like journaling or writing down your thoughts or having a sort of diary or writing affirmations. I used to look at that like I don't need to do that. Like I'm
Mm,
chilling, bro. But like what that does, bro, is it 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 projects. It's like meditation. It like lasers your mind into the physical realm of focusing on what's important to you.
Mhm.
And when I just think that's so beautiful. I think that's so beautiful too, because then you can look at those things. You can look at those things and it can be reminders. It can be reminders to you of those things you're grateful for, rather than, oh, I don't need to do that. And even still, I feel like I could do that more. It I feel like it would allow me to bring into perspective more the things I'm grateful for, of course, because I'm sitting there thinking about what I'm grateful for. And
Mhm.
it's so easy to just spin off in the mind. But when you're sitting there, literally doing like a meditative practice of what am I grateful for in this moment, and saying thank you and I love you and I love this life and I get to be here. Like sometimes in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll be like, I don't know what I just woke up to. I don't know where
Mhm.
I just was, but here we are again. And something brought me back into this plane, and I'm familiar with this plane. I live on this plane every day, but like I get to be here again. I get to be here. And I feel like that's so important, rather than like I'm just here, or I have to be here, or
Yep.
I get to be here. I get
Yeah.
to live this life.
Yeah.
And the way you meditate, is it when do you focus on your breath in particular, or do you do visualization? Do you do guided meditations, mantra meditation? What is the main method as to how you meditate?
Yeah. So the two main method that I do, it really depends on the situation. Like the most common one that I do is just tuning back to my breath. I've I've done visual meditation, guided meditations, like basically sampled a bunch of different ways of meditating,
Hmm.
and now I kind of stick to the ones that I know um, works best for me personally, which is again just tuning back to my breath, letting go of any thoughts, kind of make it into a game of like, ooh, how quiet can I make my mind? How much can I just focus on something as simple as my breath and just let go of thoughts completely. And I always come out of it feeling super refreshed. Another really personally really effective meditation is sensory meditation, where I just focus on what do I see visually without any thoughts, just appreciating everything that I see right now in my visual field, and then gently guiding that towards what do I hear right now, everything that I hear within and outside of me. What do I hear? And then shifting that focus to, what do I smell right now? And again, just going through all the five senses. And I think that type of meditation is called exteroception meditation, where you start focusing on your external perceptions, your external sensory perceptions. And when we focus on that, there's a lot less space to focus on your thoughts, the introspection side of us. So that helps me let go of thoughts even more. So those are the two main style of meditation that I like: sensory meditation, and then the very, I guess, basic but also fundamental one, which is just focusing on the breath.
Right. I like that a lot, man. The way you just broke all that down. Yeah, like rather than, I mean, I guess in a way for me, focusing on the breath, I am kind of doing a sensory meditation in that sense, where I'm just feeling my stomach going up and coming down and going up and coming down, or focusing on the feeling of the air right at the tips of my nostrils, of it moving in and moving out. Or this this is one, like it's funny because sometimes I feel like it's easier for me to do this, but at the same time it's like there's a lot more room to become distracted from it. But literally just focusing on the fact that I exist,
Mm.
that you could call it the I amness. And it doesn't even have to be a cognitive phrasing of it, of saying I am, I am, I am, but just staying with the awareness that I am right now. I am, I am. and just the birds and the wind blowing across my body and the gravity holding me to the ground and my stomach rising and falling and rising. There's just this thing that's happening,
Mhm.
and I am it. This is reality. And the mind can, or at least my mind in particular, can very easily just start thinking, doing what it does of thinking about stuff, but just bringing back the awareness to the fact that I am. And something I've kind of gotten into recently, which might be surprising, it kind of is to me with just how long I've been working with this stuff, but I've recently started doing Ashtanga yoga, with
Mm.
just a basic yoga practice. And I literally just did like a guided class 2 weeks ago on Sunday. And after doing that, like as I'm doing this session, bro, I'm like getting so deep into the stillness that I want to stop listening to what this lady's saying and just sit, like just fall deeper into this space, because doing that yoga was bringing me to the same space that meditating brings me to. And in a way, it was almost like doing that yoga made it easier, because the focus was now, rather than sitting still and feeling the itches or feeling like all these little subtleties, how it can kind of sometimes be complicated to just sit still, using my body and surrendering myself to just doing the poses, doing the asanas that she's telling us to do, and
Mhm.
just giving myself to that. I very quickly got very quiet and calm and centered, and yeah, wanting to just sit there silent, like screw this, bro, like I'm just gonna sit here and meditate and just like really quiet down. But like I was like, dude, you never do yoga, just do the whole session with her. So I did. And then afterwards, like at the end, there was a period, like probably a 10 or 15-minute period, where we laid down and just silence. And it was the morning time, and it was drizzling. It was just like that misty kind of rain, like just mist falling, and hearing it tapping because we were on like a stage, hearing it tapping the tarp of the top of the stage, and just realizing like there's all these beings around me. And just I felt so quiet and so centered and peaceful. And I came out of that class with such a, like, it was like I discovered something, like, dude, why am I just now starting to do yoga? Like, this is fucking epic. This is
Yeah.
awesome. And Ram Dass, who, if I have a guru, bro, it's Ram Dass. Like, Ram Dass is my guy. Like, there's not a single video I've listened to, well, that I haven't heard of him. Like, everything I've just fucking listened to, and I just go back and listen to it again and again and again. But Ram Dass was a yogi. He taught yoga to Westerners. And I came out of this class, and I came out of it like understanding so much more about where Ram Dass is coming from, in like just his chill, laid back, like cool cat kind of vibes. And I was like, wow, bro, like this yoga stuff can really get me like high on the moment, to put it frankly. Like I felt zonked, bro. I felt like really blissed out, just being able to chill and feeling so in my body. And
Mm.
like something I did the other night was I went on a walk, and then after the walk I did yoga, and then after the yoga I sat and meditated, and I felt really good afterwards. And I realized how the activity level of the practice, because I'm going for the walk as a form of kind of meditation, of appreciating just like walking intentionally each step I'm taking, rather than rushing around, like walking intentionally with each step, and feeling the wind and looking at the beautiful trees and how everything's slowly moving by me as I walk. And then when I'm done with the walk and the body feels a bit used, doing the yoga, which warms the body up and stretches everything out. And then after the yoga, sitting silently, it was like I brought the activity level down, 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 down into just sitting until I was just breathing. And it's so profound, these things we're working with, bro. Like it just feels like we're a part of this life. Like rather than being involved so intensely with seeking material pleasures and thinking something outside of us is going to get me what I want. That girl is going to make me happy. That next job, that next paycheck, that next house, that next vacation, that next truck, that next visit. Like all this stuff outside of us is what we think is going to make us happy. But it's like this path of spirituality is pointing us back inward, of realizing like, bro, like you exist, you know, like you are, and what you are is enough and here and abundant and has all the answers it needs in this moment for it to be happy. Because that's all it seems like we really want. We all just want to like feel good, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. That's beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course, man. Where are you sitting with your time range? You said 2:30 was where you wanted to cut it off.
Yeah, I do have to prepare for a client's call in about like 19 minutes. So yeah, this is about a good time for me to start rounding this out so that I can start preparing for that. That's all right.
Yeah, of course, man. No, bro. You're stuck with me, man.
I'm stuck here now.
I'm your client, bro. I'm your client, and I ain't going anywhere. I think
stuck in this moment.
I want to say I was stuck in this moment, bro. What time is it? Now. It's always now. Dude,
Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful that you're willing to open yourself to being, you know what? Maybe I can help people. Maybe I can teach people. Maybe I can give people advice. Because the reason I don't do that stuff mainly is because I don't think that I'm worthy of properly delivering these, kind of like we were talking about a while ago. I don't think I'm adequate enough to clearly and concisely share these things I've learned. And it's like, no, I'm not no teacher. I can't teach people. What kind of, you know what I mean? Like I don't have what it takes to help someone, like especially if they're like older than me. Like who am I, some 22-year-old kid coming along and telling this full grown person what they should work on and those kinds of things. And like I think it's so beautiful that you've taken it upon yourself to say, you know what, maybe I can help people. Maybe I can help these people. And this is where you go. If you want to listen to what Z has to say, this is where you can go. I am here to listen to you. And I like that a lot. I really appreciate that. And it's kind of how I look at my YouTube channel. Like it's just an offering. It's an offering. And whoever listens will listen. Whoever wants to talk, we can talk. But yeah, man, thank you for being you, bro. I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you, man. It seems like we kind of are on a same vibe together. Like I love your quirky humorousness, but it's also contrasted with this like vast knowing, you know, and it doesn't look like that on the surface. That's the thing with judging a book by its cover, is you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what's inside of them. You don't know what can come through them. And yeah, man, you are a very beautiful being.
Thank you so much for that, man. And again, thank you so much for inviting me onto this podcast, onto this collaboration, this series. This has been such a great time sharing my experience with you and having you so deeply willing to listen and also share a bit of yourself too. This has been awesome. For a long time, I didn't know if like I can share this quirkiness side of myself, but if I felt very comfortable bringing that side out of me, especially in your presence. I feel like it's very natural for that side of me to come out during this conversation. I'm really glad I allowed it to come out because it's fun. Because sometimes I can have that like very calm, very chill type of energy, and other times that inner child wants to come out to play, and
Yeah, bro.
I let it out. Yeah, I let it
I
out, and it's a
feel
good
that, man.
time.
Who you are,
And
bro. It's who you are.
exactly. And lastly, again, thanks for seeing me. Genuinely, I appreciate that a lot, man.
Namaste, man. Namaste.
Namaste.
Well, Z, thank you so much, man. It's been beautiful. I'm gonna keep in touch with you, man. I feel like
Please
I've
do.
just made
Please do.
a new soul friend, you know what I
Yes,
mean? And
sir.
definitely gonna keep in touch with you. And if you would like to, I'd love to have you on again in the future. I'm pretty sure I have like 10 or so episodes and they're all with just two different people. So
Hmm.
I'd love to have you back on, man. It's been a real honor and privilege to have you here today, hanging out with me, talking about this extraordinary stuff that I feel we're both still actively learning about. So
Hmm.
yeah, thank you, man, and have a wonderful rest of your day, getting ready to help people, getting ready to do
Yes.
Seva.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be
Of course,
here.
man.
You have a great rest of your day too, man.
See you, bro.
See ya.